I am confident. I am stoppable. I am worth it. I am needed. All of these things are mantras that sound really freaking cheesy. And the first time you use them, you're going to find that you're rolling your eyes, because I did. The reality is that when we use these mantras to remind ourselves of how powerful or all of the things that we want to embody, then we can build our confidence. But most importantly, we can put in our gifts out into the world. Today's discussion is about diversity, inclusion, and how everybody matters.
And Julie and I talk about comic books.
That was great. I loved it.
Because she's my superhero.
Oh, feeling is mutual.
Welcome to Casa de Confidence,
A podcast for women
and some cool dudes
going in the direction of their dreams and the confidence it takes to reach them. I'm your host, Julie DeLucca-Collins.
and your sidekick, handsome hot husband. That again.
I am a dreamer, a traveler, a missionary, and risk taker. I am a lover of books, activist, philanthropist, and most of all, we are a supporter of people and their dreams. If you stumble into the casa for the first time, welcome. If you've been here before, we're so glad you're back. Grab your drink of choice, settle in, and make yourself at home.
Hi, this is Dan Collins from Casa de Confidence, and I have with me Julie DeLucca-Collins, your host of Casa de Confidence. Julie, say hi to the people.
You're peppy this morning, for the love of God. Super peppy. I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of peppiness. I only had 1 cup of coffee today.
Well, you know, morning person, not morning person, but you're pretty, you know what, you've become more of a morning person since you've been here in Connecticut for the last,
13 years.
13?
Hey, by the way, I don't know if I would call you a morning person because I was up before you for at least a couple hours.
You were.
Yeah,
But I allowed myself to sleep. I kept waking up last night.
Oh, poor baby.
And I had to go to the bathroom a lot. Sorry, a lot of information.
Wait a minute. I had to go to the bathroom a lot as well. What do you think that was about? Because I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is like the 3rd time in one night. How does this happen? Maybe something we drank and
Maybe.
we didn't have any alcohol. It was just tea.
Maybe Mongolian food makes us hungry. I mean, have to pee.
Maybe it was the tea, the bubba tea that we
We
have.
went to a new restaurant yesterday.
That's right.
The Mongolian Bowl?
Hungry
Bowl. But it's Mongolian grill.
And it's like this place where you can choose the stuff and they cook it for you. You choose the sauce, the protein, the vegetables.
And it's the first time I've ever been to an all-you-can-eat place with Julie.
Yeah, Julie doesn't do those quite often, but I
And
know
we
that.
don't do all-you-can-eat places. And
Yeah.
you know what? I did very well. I didn't eat all I could eat.
Ooh, look at that. I thought you were going to say I did very well. I got my money's worth.
No. You know what?
What?
I would pay for that later, wouldn't I?
Yes, you would. Absolutely.
So all you can eat is not free. It's you
Yeah,
pay
for
for
sure.
it later. Anyway,
Yes. So as you can see, I am right here. Wait, can you see me? I don't know where my hands are going.
well, Julie's waving to the crowd if
I
you're
know.
watching the YouTube video. But if you're listening to us in the car or listening to us on the
there I am.
YouTube feed, you can't see her.
YouTube is on delayed, by the way.
If you want to see her or you want to see me, go watch the video afterwards. And we'll have we're going to start publishing our regular episodes on YouTube. Julie's done it here and there, but I'm starting to produce them now.
Ooh, high level production coming.
Well, it's not high level, it's get it done level.
Get it done level. Ooh, that's
And,
interesting.
Little intro, little outro, little teaser at the beginning, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And, we'll see how that works out. We haven't done that. We've done it for some of our clients, but we haven't done it for ourselves.
No, we have not done it for ourselves, but we don't do for our clients who we produce shows on YouTube or the podcast. We don't do get it done. We do excellent work.
Right.
Above and beyond.
So,
Just
Julie,
saying.
for those that have been listening for a month or two, you probably haven't realized, unless you've gone back and listened, normally the format of our podcast is Julie has an interview. She
Mm-hmm.
talks with the person, she has a conversation, she has great people she brings in.
Yes.
But in the beginning, what we have been doing, but not in the last month or two, is we have this little conversation in the beginning. So, we can catch you up on stuff and let you know about things. And that's what we do. So, Julie.
Yes, Dan.
First of all, our guest is Andrea Horton Marisley. I don't know if I said it right. And actually, a common theme on most of Julie's videos, especially this one, in the very beginning, she's really bad at last names.
I try not to be.
But you try not to be, but it's always an entertaining moment if you get the name wrong.
I think you should just take those out going forward now that you expose my kryptonite.
It's part of your charm.
Part of my charm? I do say that when I tell people, I'm sorry, it's part of my charm that I don't know how to do that.
The funny thing is, we talk about kryptonite, and who's the superhero that is kryptonite's weakness?
It is Superboy, guy.
Yeah, Superman. Do you know in the beginning he had two weaknesses?
Yes. Chocolate too?
And the other weakness, it lost out.
What was it?
Kryptonite. Kryptonite got a better marketing.
What was the other weakness?
Magic.
Oh, listen, are we in this nerd conversation again?
We are in this nerd conversation, and that's why Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, not the one from Marvel, but the one that was, in DC, originally Fawcett Comics. Sorry, I'm geeking out right now.
There's a lot of geekiness going on.
He's magical.
People are tuning out now.
A lot of you people have seen the movie Shazam, and Shazam originally was Captain Marvel.
Our ideal listener and viewer, woman in midlife, it's not really paying attention.
I'm trying to attract the nerd squad here.
You're trying to attract the nerds. Well, you know what? If you want to talk nerds and superheroes, I'll talk about a superhero thing too. However, I do want to say, now see, I forgot what I was going to say about nerds, squad. Oh, yeah. Okay. Did you know that Clark Kent is not the alter ego of Superman? No. Yeah, wait a minute. Superman's alter ego is Clark Kent. And you know why? Because Superman is Superman, but he needed to lessen himself and hide behind the nerdiness and meekness of Clark Kent.
So his reality is Superman.
Yeah, his reality is Superman.
Or Kal-El, which is...
Well, now you're getting nerdy. Okay, can I talk about my Batman effect?
Well, wait a minute.
Oh,
okay. I got to the point of Captain Marvel, and that's why Captain Marvel is as powerful as Superman, because he's magic.
Because he's magic?
Yeah, Superman's other weakness is magic.
Ugh, I'm so confused.
But he's a good guy, so anyway, enough about that.
Well, are you going to hashtag this nerd alert? Come and listen?
Hashtag nerd squad.
Nerd squad. Okay, if you're a Dan follower, tag yourself as Nerd Squad.
Or
what other name could there be? Hashtag handsome hot husband Nerd Squad?
Anyway.
Oh, you didn't even want to answer that.
All right, Julie.
Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about the Batman effect. Well, I want to talk about something that is very important because it relates to everybody. And Superman and doesn't really, comic books doesn't relate to everybody. However, I was reading... Okay. I was reading this thing that how to overcome fear. And there's a lot of different ways in which you can overcome fear because a lot of times procrastination is a fear result. So if you're procrastinating on doing something is because you're afraid of doing it. You're afraid of failing, you're afraid of shame, or a lot of different things. And I think that this is where a lot of people don't realize, and they beat themselves up for not getting things done on time, putting them off. But the reality is that it's a lot of other things going on in the back of the house of your brain. So do you procrastinate, Daniel Collins?
Absolutely not.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Of course.
Excuse me. So here's the thing. When we are procrastinating, one of the things that, and I had done this in the past, and for whatever reason, I fell out of habitual behavior on this, but it's to use the 10-10 rule. Basically, if you want to get a task or if you're afraid of something, you can ask yourself, how will this impact me in 10 minutes, in 10 hours, 10 days, or 10 years? And I think that that's one of the things that helps to normalize whatever it's going on. The other thing, too, is that we don't name what we're afraid of a lot of times. We just kind of let it go underneath, undetected, and we know that we're procrastinating and we beat ourselves up for that, but we're not necessarily looking under the hood and realizing that when we are procrastinating is because that fear of failure. And for me, I know that the fear of failure also comes down to shame. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like may not, be liked or do it well. And all of that is a lot of excuses. Now, for me,
Now, how does this relate to Batman?
I'm going to get there. I'm going to land my plane. Give me a minute.
Okay, sorry.
So the basic thing, though, is that when we want to speak out or when we want to work in our business or when we want to make a change and then we keep saying, oh, I'll start eating healthy next week or I'll go to the gym next week, is that we're already telling ourselves a story that we're not going to do it right, that we're going to fail, that we're going to, who am I to do it, right? And that's where the imposter syndrome comes in. So one thing that you can do is when you're naming your fear, I am afraid that I am not good enough at, right? I am afraid that I will be laughed out of the world for having a podcast or going live on Facebook, right? Whatever that may be, is the thing that prevents us from actually doing the action. But when we start to name our fear, so for instance, if my fear is pursuing or creating and recording videos for a course, right? I may be afraid that no one's going to buy the course. I may be afraid that no one can relate to the content that I will be sharing. I am afraid that maybe we won't make money on this and we'll invest a lot of time and energy. So all of these things create kind of these roadblocks for me actually going and doing the thing. So now it's very important to name, right? I am afraid of being a failure at being a course creator. Now that I say that out loud, I'm sort of like neutralizing the thought and becoming more aware of what I'm going and feeling and doing. And then this is where the Batman effect can come in. What do you think the Batman effect is? Not sure. You're not even sure where I'm going with this? Do you follow me so far, though? Okay, so there's a study that said that children perform better on a challenging task if they pretend to be someone else, like Batman. So the Batman effect applies to all of us in the sense that if we act as if, right, I am a powerful woman who does courses, or I am a badass content creator, or I am an amazing person when it comes to making bread, because I've been making bread, right? So if I already assume the identity as I'm doing the task, it's been proven in this research study that people tend to do much better at the task as opposed to just going at it with the fear.
And it's not that you're not good at being that badass person. It's that you're not feeling like you're that badass person.
Yeah. And It's your alter ego. It's creating an alter ego.
We're our biggest critic.
Of course, that's what imposter syndrome is.
And that's, if you act like you are that badass,
Yeah.
you will be the badass that you actually are.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
But you don't think you are, but you are.
Yeah. And alter egos are psychologically proven to help us out of situations that are difficult and things that we typically avoid, right? So for instance, if someone is afraid of going into a networking event because they're very introverted, they can say, you know what? I am a great networker. I am a people person. And it doesn't mean that you have to fake it till you make it, but you can act as the Batman of networking, right? And take those qualities and embody them as you walk in. And then that helps to boost your performance and your confidence in that level. What do you think?
Awesome. It's a great lesson. I like it.
You like it? I like it a lot too.
I love it.
I like it. I love it. How does the song go? There you go.
All right. Well,
anyhow,
you know what? We filled everyone with comic book dreams today, and I appreciate that.
Comic book dreams, really?
So, Julie.
Yes.
I know you want to get onto this interview with Andrea.
I do. And I think that this is a very timely topic for what is going on in our world. And I will continue to be an advocate of this topic because for so many of us, right, we enter the world really measuring ourselves up by what society is saying of us. And currently society is really diminishing the power of diversity, is really putting a lot of information out there that people who are diverse don't matter. And this is the one thing that I want us to really start to pay attention to, that when we have diversity, when we allow different perspectives and backgrounds to come into our organizations, into our lives, into our society and communities, we can actually enjoy more success because we're thinking out of the box. We're not stuck in the same old kind of thinking. And there's a lot of organizations that continue to do work to promote diverse environments. Someone said to me in a Facebook post this week, well, the problem with diversity and inclusion is that unqualified people get jobs. That's bullshit. And it's not how it works. There's highly qualified people that for centuries and years have gone untapped to as potential, as gifted people because of the color of their skin, before where they came from. And it's time that we create opportunities for women, for neurodivergent people, for Latinos, for African Americans, because when we all have opportunities, then the whole collective of people get better. Our society improves. And this lie that diversity is bringing us down and is giving preferential treatment to people who are unqualified is the biggest BS. And our guest today is someone who can help us kind of dissect this information. She gives us important insights into recognizing and supporting neurodivergent individuals in the workplace. We also talk about the invisible spaces where we don't have enough diversity to create change and success overall for others. So that's all. Off my thing.
You know what? I listen to these interviews as I'm editing, but I also listen to it in the car. So I'm really interested in this conversation this week as I travel to work. So I hope you all are looking forward to this interview and you will enjoy it, maybe make you think, maybe give you inspiration. Julie?
Yes, Daniel.
I love you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So, all right. So everyone, enjoy this interview with Andrea and Julie.
Amazing. Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence and the Confident You Radio Network. I want to tell you that many of us embark in journeys of self-discovery, and our guest today is Pretty much the same. Growing up, she was passionate about technology and innovation and started university majoring in electrical engineering. As a minority woman in a male dominated industry, she often felt like didn't belong. As a
Mhm.
first gen working college student, she didn't know where to go for help and support. Despite her talents and ambitions, self doubt crept in, holding her back from fully embracing her potential. We're going to unpack not only her journey, but a little bit of what she is doing now to really make an impact on this world and help others go confidently. Welcome to the show, Andrea Horton, Mary. Oh my gosh, Richly.
Very good,
It's
Marichli. Yes, thank
part
you
of
so
my
much.
charm, people. We practice. I just want to say, I ask people how to pronounce your name. I say it correctly to them, and I get on the show, and it really must be a segment on the show. So I apologize because I am a stickler for making sure people say my name correctly. And it must be because I'm a stickler that this happens to me, right?
It happens to me too. I once mispronounced a guest name in my podcast the entire show, and she didn't remind me until the very end. I was like, oh my god.
Ah,
So
I get
yes,
it. The perils of podcasting and being a
yeah,
host, but thank you for being here. I am just so
yeah,
thrilled to be able to connect with you again because
like-
you have passions when it comes to a topic that we must bring to the forefront. And I see
yes.
places where this is going away and it shouldn't. We need to
Mhm.
talk about diversity, we need to talk about inclusion, equity, belonging, all of it. This is
Yes.
a conversation for someone like me that has been in a place like you that didn't feel like I
Mm,
belong.
mm,
I want to make sure that others have opportunities and have the tools to navigate life and not have that not belonging feeling. Because ultimately, that's one of the things that we crave the most as adults or humans, rather.
yeah. No, I agree. Everybody wants
Mhm,
to feel like they belong and don't feel left out, that they're invited to
mhm.
the table. Whether you're a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male to
Yep.
a black low income
Mhm.
individual or a Hispanic individual like us. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's I grew up low income as well, so or
Mhm.
LGBTQ plus, that you can be
Yeah.
your whole self, your whole authentic self, and not
Absolutely.
feel judged.
hmm I have to tell you, as we were talking about this just now, I had a flashback of childhood, and this is so
Oh,
crazy. Um, I grew up in El Salvador till I was about 10, 11, and there is, I don't know the name of the game, but it's like a little game in which you chant the little song in a circle and someone is in the middle. And basically the song says, this poor little orphan who is sitting here alone, um, let's throw her out into the street so she can cry over her tragedy. And then you
oh
repeat,
wow.
cry over her tragedy, cry over her tragedy. And I remember playing that song, right? Because as we were talking about belonging and
Mm-hmm.
the part of things, I thought, huh, yeah, I hate that song and I hated that game.
Never heard of that game. But
Yes,
as kids, we don't realize what we're saying, like Ring Around the Rosies about the plague.
right?
And London Bridge is falling down. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, children don't realize
Yeah,
the some of the things that that they turned into games, that they were based on real tragedies
absolutely.
and situations. Yeah.
Um, it goes to show you that we as humans have vulnerabilities, and
Mhm.
yet we only look into ourselves and think we are the only ones.
Yeah.
When did you first
Yeah.
learn to embrace your vulnerabilities?
Not till adulthood. So growing up, I was very self-conscious. Uh, I don't know if it also stemmed from me being the middle child, but I wasn't an ignored child by any means. But I was the best child, the good child. No, but yeah, it's I was always self-conscious, and um I think that stemmed from me not really knowing where I fit in, because I am multiracial,
Mhm.
biracial, I should say, and I was a military brat, so we moved around a lot, and then we went back to my parents' home state of Texas, and they got divorced, and then they moved into the um, uh, not the barrio, but close
Mhm.
to it in
Yep.
El Paso, and it was a Spanish speaking community, and I didn't speak Spanish because my
Mm.
father's white and my mother's from Veracruz, and I just that just made me even more insecure
Yeah.
because I didn't know where I belonged. I wasn't white enough. I wasn't Hispanic enough. And there was nobody else like me in my classes, uh, and so growing up, it was like that until I um, pretty much l- um, left my first university and went, which was at UT Austin, and went back
Mhm.
to home to UT El Paso. That's where, and I changed majors because I felt like I didn't belong, and I couldn't find the resources I needed
Yeah.
to make me successful in the electrical engineering program. And so I changed majors and was very successful. And I think that's what I needed. That's when I started finding myself and gaining my confidence. Um, and granted, it still took some years after that, but that's when it started to increase, and I became more comfortable in my own skin, and was um started to love me for who I am and everything that I brought to the table.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a little bit of a bumpy road, but it was a bumpy road going up instead of like even or downhill. And um, my grades started improving, and I started making more friends, and just working is again, and being successful. And I just gained confidence that way, and it showed in
Yeah.
everything else that I did. Whoops, in everything else that I did,
Mhm.
whether it was my studies or my work, and and yeah, it's just yeah, it's been uphill ever since. But as you had said in my introduction, I started in electrical engineering, and it was being a first gen student, it was at a huge institution
Mhm.
where you're just a number,
Yeah.
which probably wasn't the best thing for it wasn't the best thing for me. I could say that I needed the smaller
Mhm.
university, which wasn't itty bitty, but it was UT El Paso,
Mhm.
where you weren't a number. The professors
Yeah.
knew your names, and you could go. They didn't have TAs. You could go straight to them and ask questions in their office hours or after class. And uh yeah, navigating UT Austin, which is an excellent
Yeah.
institution, just it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And
It's a large school, and I
yeah,
think that, not everything, right? It's a one size fits
mhm,
all, and many
yeah,
times we take that for granted.
exactly. And as youth in growing up in this not really a small town, but your own town, whether it's a
Mhm.
small town or a large town, a lot of times the local universities, or if you have a university in your hometown, get a bad rap. You want to go away
Mhm. Yeah.
to university, and so that's the mindset I was in. And community college, that's for people
Yeah.
who can make it, you get into
That's right.
university, and that's not true. It's not
Not
true.
at
I
all.
mean, and to me, it's like I think I really should have started at the community college. Though now that I have more
Yeah,
exposure,
live and learn, and now we know better, right? Know better,
yeah,
do better.
exactly. And
Mm.
that's where all of my the obstacles that I had to and failures I experienced, and got back up and continued, and um have just fueled my passion in my work. So when I'm now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Um And I got to work with, when I first got here, I got to work with immigrants and refugees, and
Mm,
that was the most rewarding experience because
imagine.
and individuals who were low income as well, Native U.S. Citizens who fell through the cracks of the K through 12 system
Mhm.
uh, for various reasons, and it's from my teaching and everything like that. It just made me realize that there's such a need, and I could give that all the things I experienced were for a reason
Mm,
because I can teach and guide others
yeah.
to feel like they have someone they can come to with
Mhm.
questions to build that rapport and help them navigate systems
Yep.
because when you have nobody as a guide, no one's who's done it before you, um, you are lost and you feel like you're the stupidest person in the world because you don't know where to go
Yes.
and you don't want to look stupid, so you're hesitant to ask and I mean, depending on your personality, and my personality was that, I didn't want to look
Right.
stupid and like I didn't know what I was doing. And so um my experiences were all for this and
Yeah.
helping immigrants and refugees navigate systems, individuals who are U.S. born that don't have that individual to go to
Yeah.
navigate systems and get the services they need to be successful if they need those extra services. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's and just I mean, there's when it comes to immigrants and refugees, there's so many professionals coming into educated professionals coming into our country as refugees and
Mhm.
green card lottery winners and other, special
Mhm.
immigrant visas and everything. And they don't know where to start, because they're not
Yeah.
told. I mean, you think
No, not at
that,
all. The
yeah,
infrastructure and the systems in
yeah,
our country, right? Um, they're really not friendly to
yeah.
somebody who is coming in. My husband and I have been doing some research about
Hmm.
living abroad,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's interesting how other cultures have like an infrastructure set up for if you're going to come in.
Yep.
This is where you come in. You get someone mentoring, and it's incredibly
Hmm.
important. This is one
Yeah.
of the reasons why I was so taken by our first conversation because I know that the work that you do is incredibly important in your business. One of the things that you do is you help business leaders
Hmm.
build a diverse and inclusive culture. And
Yes.
I already know that there's probably someone that is listening, and I still love you if you are, right? Whoever you may be, that is thinking, well, why do we want a diverse culture? Why, like people come in and they should just assimilate. But why is that important to an organization? And why do we want to attract, hire, and retain that diverse culture?
Great question. So, let me address the first thing that you said first. Was about the person who may be listening. Like, they should just assimilate, and it's not that people don't want to; they want to, but they don't know
Mm,
how to because they only know the culture and the customs and policies and procedures that they grew up in or
mhm.
fled from. And I mean, and they had to learn. If they fled their country to a refugee camp in another country, they learned those procedures and stuff
Right.
because there was people there to help them. But when they come here, a lot of times, like refugees, they get on a plane, they have no idea. They know what country they're going to.
Mm,
They're not told anything else. They don't know what city. They don't know anything. They don't know who's going to meet them
mhm.
at the airport. It is scary.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have to go through so many vetting procedures, so many background checks to even get on the list first, and then they have to wait 3+ years to
Yeah.
even get on that plane, which they have to pay back,
Mhm. Yeah.
within 3 months. They have to start paying everything back, all that travel for whoever came
Yeah.
with them, their families. And so they they're thrown into this country. And as you said, other countries seem to have these infrastructures in place, but for some reason there's a lack of communication between agencies, government agencies and stuff, like when they're waiting on that list for 3+ years, there's little preparation given to them, especially like the professionals, like um um about getting your credentials evaluated and getting everything ready. Like these are the things that you need to start working on now, that you can work on now while you're waiting. Um and so you can be better prepared to enter the industry that you want to, that you have experience in education in,
Mhm.
um once you get to the country you're going to. And it's just um there's that lack of preparation on that point. And they may be getting some English classes. I don't know
Mhm.
if every refugee camp and is given English classes. But then you have your green card lottery winners. The same thing. Like a lot of them speak English, decent English,
Right.
um, but they're not told those things either. Like about the credentials and evaluations and everything, and that things that they could start preparing for, taking some U.S. Based courses online to learn policies and procedures in whatever industry that their experience is in. They would jump, they would do that in a heartbeat, if they were told. But so people arrive here and they're blind; they have no one to guide them, and they have to take the first job that's given to them as
Yep.
a refugee. And a lot of times that's like the service industry, the jobs that nobody wants
Nobody
to do.
wants, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I knew
And
I knew people who my mom was friends with them. She grew up with them in El Salvador, and again, very
mhm.
highly educated, and were doctors, lawyers. And during the war in El Salvador, they came here and they came with asylum, but they couldn't practice and they took
Yeah.
a job. Not that, again, there's nothing wrong with any of these jobs,
No,
but
no, there
you
isn't.
spend a
They're
lot of time.
honest work.
You spend a lot of time investing into your education. You have an area of expertise, and nobody is really helping you navigate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as asylum seekers, yeah, asylum seekers actually have, I wouldn't say have, and part of my, I can't think of a better way to say this, but have it the worst
Yeah.
because, especially now, because
Mhm.
before the Trump administration, they had to wait 6 months to apply for their work visa after they applied for asylum.
Right.
Now it's a year. So they submit their paperwork. They have, so when asylum seekers, as you know, they step their first step onto U.S. soil, they have 1 year to apply for
To
asylum.
apply, right.
Um, and a lot of them apply right away as soon as they can. But they have to wait 1 year after their application is
Mhm.
submitted to even apply for a work visa. That makes no sense to
That
me.
makes no sense
None.
whatsoever, because then
Yeah, it's like
you
yeah.
have someone who is ready, willing, and able to
Mhm,
work, and yet
mhm,
they can't.
yeah,
And
and
yeah.
they're here legally.
They're here illegally,
So
absolutely. And
no,
these are
mhm,
the intricacies that I think a lot of people don't realize when it comes to the
yeah,
conversation of immigration, diversity,
yeah,
and really I am a firm believer that we have such richness from the experiences that other people bring to the table, that creating
mhm,
these inclusive and diverse environments can only help to innovate more, can help to
yeah, mhm,
grow
yeah.
organizations. And I actually, in
I
the
agree.
latest episode of the podcast, and if people haven't heard it, you should go back to it, because I've been ruminating on this, and I was kind of bothered by it for a long time. But I know that if I talked
Oh,
about it out of passion, I would not
yeah.
necessarily make a good point across. So Dan and I talked about it in this after maybe a week or two since the incident
Mhm.
happened, with the kicker from the Chiefs in the commencement
Oh,
speech.
mhm,
Um, and the reality is that we need to stop creating these silos where people go into
mhm,
based on religion, based on
yeah,
gender, based on culture, based on anything. And
mhm,
I don't have the right to tell someone this is what you should do. Nobody
Exactly.
has that. And then you're creating this animosity. And for the women
Mhm.
who have to make the tough choice to,
Mhm.
I want to be home, but I have to work, you're
Mhm.
making them feel, again, some range of
Mhm.
emotions.
Yeah.
And I think about, what if the women, right, that created some of the most incredible inventions that we use every day
Mhm. Hey,
decided
cell
that
phones and everything, all that Wi-Fi invented by a
cell
woman.
phone, Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
diapers, your
Mhm.
windshield wipers,
The
your
dishwasher.
dishwasher. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So see,
You're welcome.
and we don't understand that it is not for everyone. It is not for
Mhm.
everyone, and this is why it's important to be able to create these opportunities for people to
Mhm.
step up and live to their
Mhm.
potential and make the choice that best suits them, as opposed to randomly
Yeah,
just saying, "This is what we're going to do." These
I
narratives need to be
agree. Mhm.
dismantled for sure.
Yeah, because at the end, we're all the human race. We all
Mhm.
want pretty much the same thing. We want to
Yeah,
be accepted for who we are. We want to belong, feel like we belong. We
right.
want to be heard and valued.
Mhm.
And backtracking to one of your uh, questions before was about the inclusive spaces. Um, what do immigrants and language learners bring to the table? As you said, they bring innovation. They
Yeah,
a lot of them have excellent work ethics, excellent
absolutely.
time management, and um, and they are so reliable.
Mhm.
As long as they know what is expected, and so that's where the
Mhm.
mentorship, the work buddy, is
Yeah.
so important from the time of at the time of onboarding on, or even to me, I like to say from the time of job description and job
Mhm.
posting, things need to be inclusive, gender neutral,
Yeah.
inclusive wording, uh, and inclusive for all the audiences, including language learners, especially some of those types of questions, the supplemental questions that
Yep.
which some of them have been impossible to answer for someone who wasn't educated and raised in the U.S. alone. It's
Mhm.
like because there's so many different types of educational
Yeah.
systems
Mhm.
all around the world, and in today's uh, workplace, it's a very global workplace these days.
Yeah.
And people are moving around all over the world. I lived and worked in Turkey for 4 years and experienced my experiences there were so inclusive and inviting and um,
Yeah.
uh, as compared to some of the stories that some of my former students slash clients experienced to where they
Mhm.
and even as women, I would even say that we're minorities. We feel like we have to prove ourselves,
Mhm.
and we're 10 times harder to get any sort of notice. And because people think whether tend to think more so if you're a woman or a minority or marginalized population of some sort, including immigrants and language learners, that
Mhm.
you don't know what you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You know they're waiting for you
Mm.
to fail, and that's maybe they're not thinking that, but that's how many of us feel. Like they think
Absolutely.
I'm not
Absolutely.
smart enough, so yeah, we show up and we should keep showing up, of course, but we feel like our successes go unnoticed, but are anytime we may make a mistake, those go noticed
Yeah.
and
And
those are amplified.
and
And
that
so,
is
but
amplified. You're right.
mhm,
I wonder
yeah,
also, and I think that this is the other part of the conversation that people don't realize, and I'd be interested on your opinion on this when it comes to this inclusivity
yeah,
and equity. We also need to address the conversation of not just women, not just immigrants, not other
yeah,
cultures, but also individuals who are maybe neurodivergent.
yeah,
And I think
definitely.
that this is the conversation that I don't
Hmm.
see a lot being addressed.
Yes.
do you think that we need to address it more? And
Oh,
is there a trend to
definitely.
maybe bring it into the conversation at least?
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned neurodiversity because there are so many invisible
Mhm.
disabilities
Yeah.
that um, people get judged for because a lot of individuals with invisible disabilities don't disclose
Yeah.
because they're afraid of that stigma. They're afraid of being
Mhm.
judged. They're afraid of being terminated. They're afraid of not getting the job. or
Mhm.
that promotion based on that implicit bias, that
Yeah.
assumption. And so they don't disclose. So when they are having a bad day, they a lot of their colleagues judge them.
Right.
One, because they don't know, but two, um, instead of judging them, they should be talking to them like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?
Right.
What can I do?" And a lot of the time, people will disclose at that time, because they feel safe enough to.
Right.
Um, Safe spaces are inclusive spaces, and vice
Mhm.
versa. And if a work culture or workplace doesn't have that safe space, and
Mhm.
authenticity and true inclusion don't exist. But neurodiversity needs to be brought to the table because it and other invisible disabilities,
Right.
whether it's fibromyalgia or um, you know
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
um, even back pain and
Yes.
migraines and
Absolutely. I have a friend that was a VP in one of the companies that I worked with. We grew up through the ranks together, and she was hired maybe 6 months after I did. And again, a go-getter, so smart, incredibly intelligent. We got to know each other very well because we used to travel a lot to do trainings. And after I left the company, she continued to work and grow. And she has fibromyalgia. And after she gave birth to her son, that it became even more so that she would have if, the day was cold or it just so many things we don't
mm,
really
mhm,
anticipate.
yeah.
Traveling became harder, but of course, um, she is a go-getter, wants to meet expectations and would
Mm,
put herself last until her
mhm,
body really started to deteriorate. Because there was no, I guess, what would I say, accommodation to
mhm,
something that is invisible.
yeah.
And
And
these are
they're
the things we need to talk about more.
yeah, and because a lot of times there are repercussions,
Right.
unfortunately, that
Of course.
organizations do. They start taking things away from you, or they demote you, or they lay you off for
Right.
other reasons. But it's um, I lost my train of thought. But it's like with these invisible disabilities. Oh, that's right. Another important one with our veterans and our refugees is PTSD.
PTSD. Absolutely.
And not just them. A lot of people have PTSD PTSD, not PTSD for various reasons. Whether they were raped or
Yeah.
assaulted.
And even
In
after the
another
pandemic
way,
now, there's so many different people that are really suffering from this, but it's not
yeah,
a
yeah,
conversation. And I think that the
hmm
other piece that we're not doing enough of is creating that psychological safety and
yes,
training our
hmm
first line managers to really be able
yeah,
to recognize this so that they can,
yeah,
again, create the environments in which people feel accepted, feel heard, and therefore we can continue to work in together
hmm
and grow together.
and that's why doing strategic assessments across the organization with a third party doing it, not the
Mhm. Not the
organization itself,
organization.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because they're not going to get accurate outcomes because of fear of
Oh,
repercussion.
no. And again,
Um,
you
s-
go back into some of the implicit biases of the culture of the organization that
exactly,
you're blind to. So is this the type
exactly.
of program and services that you offer as well?
Yes, yes. So I do assessments across organizations to see to assess that inclusivity
Mhm.
and also the diversity. Like how diverse are your teams?
Right.
Is it a true inclusive environment? What initiatives are put in place? And a lot of it's done by surveying the employees themselves, the ones
Mhm.
who are out there, like in the
Yeah.
organization. How are they feeling? Because feelings, so you can have stuff on paper, that's great,
Mhm.
but are your policies and procedures, if you have your DEI
Mhm.
policies written out in your handbook and stuff, are they really being followed?
Yeah.
How out are they outdated? When were they uh written? Um and are your new hires and new leaders, as you had said, anybody who supervises or leads teams in any way, even one person or volunteers even,
Mhm.
needs to go through training.
Yeah.
But at first, I mean, but really the entire organization does, on different like cultural sensitivity, implicit bias,
Mhm.
and then the leaders need to have inclusive leadership. But all I mean, and all that is figured out, like what all needs to
Mhm.
be done, what needs to be changed or updated based on these assessments. And
Mm.
it's Yeah, so those are some of the services I do, and I also do one-on-one coaching as well, because some people want individualized coaching, like
Mhm.
um, on their own, and
It's
I could do
incredibly
that. Mm,
beneficial to be able to have
yeah,
someone like you who, because again, right, nobody is born or it gets to
yeah,
any place in their career in which you are an expert at all of this. So it's very important to be able to have someone that maybe has really specialized. Most of us, executives or management are generalists in many different things, right?
hmm
We know a
yeah.
little
And
bit of
I
the
don't
HR
like to say I'm an
policy.
expert, because to me, things are always evolving, and I'm
Oh,
constantly learning new
100%.
strategies
Yeah.
myself. So I like to say I'm a specialist or an aficionado.
I love the
And
specialist and continuous learning collaboration is some of
hmm
the things that I know that it really are part of your values. You also have ethical integrity, sustainability,
yes. Hmm.
adaptivity. Oh my goodness.
Adaptability,
Thank you.
accessibility.
Equity,
You're
authenticity.
welcome.
Oh my. What can people expect? And what does it look like to work with you? If would they can bring you into their organization, you do workshops,
Yeah.
training, do you go
Hmm.
in and who is your first person that typically will bring you in?
The first person to typically bring me in would either be a CEO, someone on the
Mhm.
board, or an HR director or administrator of some sort. To do, and they would do a discovery call with me to see.
Mm,
They can talk to me about what they feel that they're needing and lacking,
nice.
and then I could talk about my services, and then we could see if and how I might be able to help, and we can see if what I can offer can possibly help them, and
Mhm.
then they can if we both feel that we're compatible, then we can schedule an assessment if that's what they're wanting, a
Mhm.
whole strategic plan, created. We can start with the assessments. If they just want some trainings for uh, their onboarding program, or just their leadership or boards, or all the employees at large, we can schedule those as well. They're all customized to the needs of the organization and the teams. And then I also do another wonderful, I wish more organizations would jump on this, called intergroup dialogue. It's facilitated conversations, having those uncomfortable conversations. Now, it's not,
Yes.
yeah, and it's needed because that's where learning happens. But it's not huge groups; it's smaller groups.
Yeah. They
Usually
have to be smaller
teams.
groups and
Yeah,
it's so good. That is a great initiative
yeah,
that I think that can create a lot of expansion and really
yes,
begin to plant some great seeds within an
hmm,
organization because if you can
yeah,
get a small group dialoguing and maybe
hmm,
creating these conversations and maybe the evolution of what they believe, right?
yeah.
Shifting some of these
Hmm.
beliefs and they can
Oh
move
yeah, it's like
to the next step.
exactly
Yeah.
of starting to understand and step out of the comfort zone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
start to understand someone else's experiences, someone that they work with every day, that they or interact with on a regular basis, that they had no clue, because we all assume things about people,
Yeah.
and as we know, assumptions are often
Assumption.
wrong.
No, don't. You know what happens
Yeah,
when you assume?
yeah,
Um,
bad thing.
bad things happen. Andrea,
Mhm.
what is the one thing that I didn't ask you that you want people to know about with the work that you do?
Um, so the work that I do is stemmed from the heart. It's stemmed from how I have been treated, but how I I know my clients have been treated too, and it's just stemmed from the experience. And oh, geez, that's a really tough question. So that all of my trainings are customized to
Love
the
that.
organization's experiences and the team's experiences, because every experience, what I experience is nothing like what somebody at your
Yeah.
organization is experiencing, and vice versa. So it it starts with me going in and
Mhm.
observing and talking to the teams, and learning about them a little bit, observing, so I can customize the training.
Mhm.
Whether it's sitting in on a virtual meeting, even, if the teams are remote, just sitting in and seeing how the interactions are,
Mhm.
um, and taking a little bit of notes. So I can,
Beautiful.
I'm not going to call anybody out. I never do in my trainings, but it
Yeah,
helps me.
it
You
helps.
said
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but it's just a nice way to make it more customized to the teams, and
Yeah.
who I'll be training, giving these workshops to, because I want them to be able to have takeaways that they
Mhm.
feel that they can use instantly.
Yeah.
And when they're customized to their needs, the chances of them using them instantly increase significantly, compared to
Yeah.
generalized
Amazing.
takeaways. So yeah.
I love that you are giving some quick wins and sustainability in the work that you
Thank
have.
you.
I'm so grateful
Thank
that you're
you.
here. We need to get you
Thank you.
back to
I
have a
would love to
longer
be back.
conversation. This is
Yes,
something that I love
yes,
speaking about, and certainly so
me
much to
too.
unpack in this topic. Um,
I agree.
Maybe you should come to our Building a Boss Summit in October. We
Ooh,
have a summit here in Connecticut. Come over, Red
perfect.
Rover. I'm going to send you the
Send me
information.
the information, and I'll see if I
Yeah.
can fit it into my
Yeah, fit it
schedule.
in. It's going to be really
Yeah.
fun. We're
Ooh,
going to showcase the city of Hartford, and we look for
ooh,
just high caliber women who are making an impact in the world to come and join us and help build bosses
ooh.
all around our
Nice.
communities. So thank you for
That
being
sounds
here, my
awesome.
friend.
Thank you
You're
for
incredible.
inviting me, Julie.
Yeah, such
Likewise.
a great
Thank
person. You're doing some
thank
incredible
you.
work. We are going to have
Thank you.
all of Andrea's information in the show notes. We're going to ask you, I am asking
Yeah.
you, go connect and let her know what is the one thing that she said, that she shared, that you're going to implement and integrate into your everyday life. And if you know someone that can benefit from having Andrea in their organization, or maybe you just want to talk and ask her a question, there's so much that we unpacked. Implicit bias. We talked
Mm.
about how to be able to manage some of these tough conversations. She is your gal. So until next time, my friends, I am so grateful for all of you listening. You make my day, and this podcast is for you so that we can all go confidently together in the directions of our dreams. Until next time,
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie, for having me.
you're welcome.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Casa de Confidence podcast with Julie DeLucca-Collins. Remember to check her out on Instagram and Facebook, and always click subscribe to catch every new episode. Remember, leave a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And as always, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.